We're good. All right. So, hi, Gary. If you wouldn't mind starting out with where this was, when was it, and what happened?
Okay, the incident occurred in Warren County, Pennsylvania, and it was the last couple days of May back in 2003. And my wife, who I started dating at the time, we decided to go backpacking on a trail. And it was a Thursday and a Friday. And the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday prior to that, it was just a complete washout. And it was still raining the day that we went. When we arrived at the trailhead, it was still raining. There was hardly any vehicles on the road, and nobody parked at the trail, and we didn't see anybody anywhere. And probably 4 miles walking into along the hike, um, we had our dog with us, and he started taking off down the trail, and he normally does that if there was like a deer that he smelled or whatever. So he was running away from me, and this upright being came into sight, and I just couldn't believe it. So I started screaming at the top of my lungs for my dog. And whenever I looked at the being, I could tell it was starting to get nervous at that point. And because of all the rain, it didn't have regular fur. It had very wet fur, and it was like kind of stringy from all the precipitation that we had. So I probably watched this thing about 15 seconds or so, and he was gone. And then my dog started coming back towards us along the trail because I was still screaming for fear of him getting hurt. And I leashed him up, and I turned around to my wife and I said, "Did you see that?" And she said, she did. I said, "Tell me what you saw." Looked her square in the eye, and she said, "I saw an upright being. You started yelling, it started getting nervous, and it just took off." And I said, "Well, stay here." I said, "I'm going to go after it." And she said, "No, you're not." And this was like probably only 3 weeks into our relationship. And we decided to pitch the tent and everything because it was getting late at that point, and really didn't think too much about it. I wasn't nervous or anything, but afterwards I could never go back there again, and stay overnight.
How far away was it?
It was, and I'm a hunter. I mean, 360 day a year hunter. I know distances well. I know creatures well. It definitely wasn't any bear. It was probably, I'd say, 90 to about 110 yards away,
Okay. So about a football field.
or less, a little bit less.
And what color was it?
It was dark, very dark. Not brown or anything. It was like dark, like a blackish color,
Mhm.
or dark brown, black.
Dark black. And
Yeah,
how about the lightning? Was the sun out? Was it cloudy?
it was cloudy because it never stopped raining. I mean, it rained for like 4 days in a row. It rained like we were going to cancel the trip because of all the rain,
Right.
but we just decided to go for it. We were hiking in our rain suits.
Yeah. And can you describe the overall shape of it?
The overall shape was tall. I would say at least 6 foot, maybe a maximum of 7 foot. Uh, broad shoulders. Like I said, it was very stringy because it was just super wet.
You know, and you mentioned that it got kind of either agitated or antsy, like when your dog was, I guess, approaching it. What did it do? Like, how did it move?
It actually like sort of did like a turn or an about face kind of thing where like it did like it was startled and it didn't like know which way to go. That's what I thought it happened, but I clearly saw it like take a couple steps and spin around and go the opposite way and take off. I
Yeah.
clearly remember that.
Anything about the proportions of the arms to the body or the legs? Anything that stands out?
No, not really. I mean, it happened really fast and everything. Nothing really stood out. I mean, it wasn't, at the distance that it was, 90 to 110 yards.
Yeah,
I mean, I couldn't really see its eyes or anything like that, or it was just a little bit too far.
but definitely covered in hair.
Definitely covered in hair,
You know,
wet, stringy hair.
string hair.
Yeah.
Did you end up walking that way with your now wife?
Yeah, we did. We did. We proceeded down that trail. And I know what you're going to ask me if I look for
Yeah,
footprints, but I just never even thought about doing that, to be honest with you.
yeah. You're on a first date. You have other priorities.
Right,
get get out of the rain and get your tent set up.
right.
Yeah, and you probably didn't think Bigfoot. I mean, you know, it sounds like it caught you off guard. You didn't know what it was at first.
Well, I knew it wasn't a bear, so what else really would I think it was?
Mhm.
I mean, I'm a hunter. I hunt all the time. It was definitely not a bear.
So, how far did you camp from that spot?
Um, I would say about 3 miles.
Okay, that's kind of far.
And it
Um,
was going downhill also.
mm,
With
okay.
the first leg where we were going in to hike. I mean, it was all downhill.
So, did you and your now wife did you discuss it further? Like when you're laying there in the tent, did you talk about it?
Yeah, vaguely, but I don't know. After knowing somebody, for 2 3 weeks, I mean,
Yeah,
it was kind of
yeah.
strange. I mean, she wrote it in a journal. You know, she decided to take a brand new journal with her, and it's like the very first, uh,
Well,
the very first page in the journal,
that's cool.
and we've had that ever since. You know what I mean?
I wonder. So, I love that. Of course, it's always better to have two witnesses.
Right,
You know, that would be neat to. I know it's a personal journal, but an excerpt of that paragraph would be neat to, maybe include in this, just kind of what she saw, how she described it, because it was immediate. Uh,
right, right.
but I understand if she doesn't want to share that portion of it. But I'm always looking for more evidence, more details when I interview witnesses. Um,
Right.
and I was even going to ask if she would talk about it too, but I understand not everybody wants to go on camera um, and share
Yeah.
something like this.
Yeah. I don't know if she would want to. Maybe, maybe in the future.
Yeah, or even the excerpt, her handwritten journal. Even if you took it and put it in AI or something, and it would put it in text form,
Right.
for the computer, it'd be kind of neat to see kind of what she wrote.
Right.
Um, uh, did you guys ever talk about it later in life?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last couple words.
Later in your relationship, years later, did you talk about it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And what does she say it is now? Does she thinks it's a Bigfoot?
Yeah,
No,
for
she doesn't.
sure.
Yeah. And then you
Yeah,
also mentioned,
she's a country girl too. I
yeah,
mean, she hunted. She owned horses, and
yeah. So she knows.
yeah, it's not like it's a total city person that neither one of us are like city folk that
Yeah,
very seldom see anything, bears or whatever. You know what I'm saying there?
yeah. Did it change your lives? Like, have you become more of a Bigfoot enthusiast because of this?
Maybe a little bit, like maybe on Facebook and stuff. I'm just like curious a little bit, but I mean, I've never really gone to any seminars or anything like that. I mean, I've told this story, like I told you earlier, a million times. I mean, I received a lot of criticism from it, but then, other people that who know me, they believe me.
Yeah. Well, plus your wife saw it as well. It wasn't like you imagined it. Your wife was
Right,
right there too.
right. And the dog saw something too, so
Yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean?
How how close did your dog get to it?
I would say maybe 10 yards.
Oh, okay. And then did it when you called it? How long did it just turn right around and come back, or did it
Yeah,
keep
he did.
going?
He
He
come
did.
he come right back.
He
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
And actually, I told you about like whenever I went to work on Monday and I had a discussion with somebody, I was actually hoarse in my throat
Oh, from yelling. Yeah.
from yelling. Yeah.
Yeah. Were you more scared for your dog,
Yes.
or you were
Yes.
because you thought it was an animal of some sort that could hurt your dog?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I ruled out bear immediately.
Mm.
I mean, from my hunting experiences and everything, I mean, I know that it wasn't a bear. So what else really could it have been?
Right. Yeah. You rule out everything else. When your dog got about 10 yards from it, is was the creature facing your dog, or is that when the creature turned and walked away?
That's a good question. Um, I just remember the dog coming back and this thing taking a few steps and, like I said, doing an about face
Mm.
and taking off at that point.
Yeah. And then since this encounter, you can share what you like about it. You mentioned somebody else uh, brought up some pretty famous photographs that are online that were near that area.
Right.
The you showed me one of them, and everybody knows that if you're in Bigfooting for a long time, you know about the Jacobs photos on the bfro.net's website.
Right.
And this was fairly close to that area.
According to the person who was friends of the person who had the videos.
Yeah, and those pictures, it looks like a juvenile.
Correct.
You know, those are look like a 6 foot. I don't know the exact dimensions. I'm sure I could get on there and look, but it was a younger Bigfoot in those photos.
Right.
And
I,
you
I
mentioned
mean,
yours was shorter too.
yeah. I mean, what I heard about that was all the skeptics saying that it was a bear with a mange. I mean, I don't know where anybody could come up with that by looking at that picture.
No, the ratios are well off. They're not even close to the ratio. The limb proportions are different.
Right.
A face, even when it's looking between its legs, there's no muzzle. You cannot see a snout.
Right.
A bear has large protruding ears. You don't see the large ears on it. Um, so a lot of researchers believe those that was a young Bigfoot in those photos.
Right. And I wanted to tell you about the how that all came about.
Mhm.
Um, my best friend's uh, son-in-law, I happened to mention my sighting to him. I really didn't know him that well, but we were just small talking, and he's hang on, Trish, Trish, what are you doing? Sorry about that. I don't know if you picked up on that or not,
No,
but
I didn't.
he's googling something. Sorry,
It's okay.
but this guy, um, he told me that he was wondering where I saw this thing because he said his buddy was going to have his videos on, or not the videos, the photos that he just got, and it was, I thought he said it was pretty similar to the same time and everything, and he said it was going to be on a popular news station this week in Pittsburgh, and I watched it and I saw it, and he actually told me that he asked me where I saw this being, where this happened, and I told him where, and he actually doesn't live that far away from there, but he said his friend told him where it was, and it was very close to my spot, my sighting.
That's exciting. Did now I need to look. Was it within the same year?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that. I would think it was.
Okay.
I
I
would think it was
yeah.
similar because the way the whole thing transpired. I'm just not sure.
Okay.
I
I'll look it up.
dates of that sighting, or that video, or the
Yeah.
trail cam pictures.
Yeah, I'll look it up and see. It'd
Okay,
be interesting if it was around the same time frame.
right, right.
That's pretty exciting that you might have seen the same creature in those photos.
Yeah, I don't think it was the same creature though. I
Oh,
mean, if I look at the trail camera pictures, that was clearly a juvenile, and what I saw definitely was not a juvenile.
or bigger. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Because
can
even
roll that out.
okay. Yeah, 100 yards too. To see it, it's got to be pretty big at 100 yards. You know.
Yeah,
Um,
I thought it was pretty sizable for sure. I mean,
yeah.
I could see like the shoulder width on it, and the height. I mean, it was definitely bigger than me for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's exciting. I can't think of any other questions other than I know people ask about the smell, and since you walked right by it, was there any smell?
None,
No, okay,
no smell.
no smell, and that's fine. Sometimes there are a lot of theories. Do they emit some kind of odor as like a defense mechanism? Do they
Right,
just smell bad? I mean, there's all these different theories and speculations on why they smell, but it depends on if you're upwind or downwind. There's a lot of factors involved with the smell.
right. Yeah, I mean, being a hunter that I am, it seems I'm always checking, wind direction and everything. But in this case, I really
Yeah,
I didn't. I didn't smell anything. I mean, I have a really good nose. Like, I mean, I smell deer sometimes. You know, eh, whenever they're off in the distance, obviously, if they're upwind of me.
yeah.
But I didn't smell anything in this case.
When when you walked by the location, you said you didn't look for tracks, but did you did you glance around at all?
I did. I
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
Nothing. It's big woods there. Big
yeah.
timber.
Did you walk faster?
No, I was like sort of like more stunned than anything.
Yeah.
I was just, I don't know. I was just stunned at the whole episode.
You
And then,
know, a
go
lot
ahead.
of witnesses I've interviewed over 700 witnesses, and it's remarkable, and people don't understand this. You're not looking for a Bigfoot. So that's not on your mind.
Right.
You don't expect it. It's something you don't see every day. So you're trying to process it. It takes a long time to process it, to let it sink in. And a lot of people, they don't get scared right away. They're not worried. It's not until later they go, oh my gosh, that might have been a Bigfoot.
Yeah, I thought it was a Bigfoot right then. I didn't get scared that night. I mean, my my wife was pretty impressed that I was able to start a campfire with the conditions that it was. I mean, everything was wet. She was kind of impressed by that. And I mean, I'm just going off of memory, what we were thinking. And
Right.
like, really didn't talk too much about it. And like I said, it was like one of our first dates. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were like maybe 2 or 3 weeks. You know, we met on the 13th of May. That was our first date, and then this happened like the last 2 days in May.
Right.
So it was really close in
Yeah.
proximity to.
Was there a certain time that you talked about it? Was it driving home? Was it a month later? Was it a year later? Do you remember when you actually sat down and talked about it?
Well, what I did not tell you is whenever I went to work on Monday, I worked for a major bank, and there was a new male secretary there. And I introduced myself, and just out of small talk, he ended up stating that he worked in a hiking retail store. And I said, "Boy, that's really funny you mentioned that. I was on a trail this weekend." He said, "Did you have a good time?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." And he says, "What do you mean?" And I told him about this. And he got all excited, and he says, "You got to put a sighting on bfr .org." And
Yeah.
he talked me into it, and I did it. And I'd leave a message. The guy would call me back during the day. This was before cell phones, so obviously.
Yeah.
And I'd get the message, the next day. Then I'd leave a message for him, and then he wouldn't get back to me, and I'd call him back and say, "What kind of organization is this?" I saw something, and you don't want to, call me back or whatever. So that never transpired.
Yeah.
But that,
Well,
that was sort of like in conjunction with what you asked me.
okay.
At that point, it seemed like, and we started like really talking about it because, I was about to make this sighting, and then I talk to my wife and say, "Well, is there anything else you remember seeing?" And it was basically the same thing that I saw, what she said.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know the BFRO. They're very busy. They get a lot of reports. Um, there are different investigators for every state. Many investigators for every state, and there's a backlog even today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in the database, there's a backlog of reports that never get touched just because of time. A lot of us have full-time jobs and families and
Yeah.
such, and somehow things get lost. There's a couple right now in Kentucky, a couple reports. They're great reports, and I email them. I send them a text message. I like to talk to you on BFRO. No reply, and I don't
Yeah.
know. Who knows what happened there, um, but there's a lot that fall through the cracks. There is. So I appreciate you coming to me in the KBRO. We're the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Organization, but we document reports all over the country,
Right.
primarily Kentucky. But I love Bigfoot. I love Bigfoot reports. We learn a lot from witnesses. We learn what they look like, how they act, where they live. It gives a lot of information to us. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. I was just happy to hear you ask me, that you'd like to hear about it,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, here it is. that happened in '03, and it's 2005. I mean, that's 22 years ago. And somebody's, interested in hearing what I saw. I mean,
Uh,
I kind of got excited about it.
well, it's to me the older reports are just as valuable because it tells you the location, especially because yours is near a very historic site. And I can't wait to get on there and look at the dates and see if it lines up. So we kind of paint a picture. I have a private Google map of Kentucky, just Kentucky, of all my pins, and I got these huge clusters of sighting locations where I know they live. There's too many credible reports. I go there. I've had my own amazing interactions in these locations. I do Bigfoot expeditions in these locations. We've actually had 11 sightings on my expeditions. 11 different people saw a Bigfoot actually, daytime and nighttime. Very compelling encounters, very credible witnesses. And I've had numerous encounters. I've never seen one. I was never with the right team when we were out at night. I was with a different team, but I've had very close encounters. So the witnesses tell us where they live, and that's where we go. So,
Right.
but yeah, I'll be interested if your wife just the excerpt of her journal. I love to have what she wrote, that little paragraph
Sure.
about it. That'd be kind of neat.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I feel fortunate that this actually happened to me. I mean, I
Yeah,
feel fortunate.
yeah, you're one of the lucky ones.
Right.
I think you are fortunate. You're very lucky. A lot of us want to see one. I've seen maybe two at 100 yards,
Uh
real
huh.
quick, across the creek, but it's very brief. I couldn't tell you for sure. It was so brief. Again, it was about 100 yards. I tell
Right.
people, bright sunny day across the creek, all
Right.
black, arm swing. I drove down to where they were going. It was swamp, no trucks. Came back around, drove to where they went in, parked my truck, walked in, more swamp, no trucks. So I don't know if there are people out there. I don't know where the truck was. And it's a bright sunny day, and they're all black. At 100 yards, you can usually tell hats, face, jeans, jacket. You can distinguish that at 100 yards. These
Right.
were solid black.
Right.
So I think maybe, I don't know. It was very quick. Mine was like 2 seconds. It was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see any arm swing at all because it just, like I said, it took a couple steps and did an about face and decided to go the opposite way.
yeah,
I mean, it seemed to me like I must have spooked it and it threw off its brain a little bit
yeah.
and it didn't really know which way to go. But by the time I could see like maybe some arm swing, it was behind, timber.
Yeah.
Never saw arm swing or anything like that.
One thing I just thought of. You said it was raining. Was it
Yep.
raining at the time?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Was it raining at the time of the sighting?
My wife said yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Because as a hunter, that would conceal your movement until the dog started barking. But
Right.
as you're approaching, uh, the rain would kind of conceal your scent and your movement as you're coming that way. And maybe that's why he was caught off guard a little bit.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Since I wasn't hunting, I mean, I'm like a high tech hunter. I mean, I'm always knowing which way the wind's blowing. You know what I mean? So I don't spook anything. But I had lesser skills than I do now at that point.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, you weren't hunting at that point; you were hiking. So,
Right. Yeah, and my mind was on, like, hey, this new woman, you know what I mean? And
right. Yeah, yeah. Your mind's, especially, you're not thinking of Bigfoot, and
right,
you
right,
don't want to act. You don't want to run away scared or go
right,
crazy, or you want to remain calm. Make a
right.
good impression.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And she was quite impressed about the fire I made, though, you know,
There you go.
because it was so wet. I mean, I just remember that, we didn't, like I said, we really didn't talk about it too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
We talk about it more now than
Yeah.
back then.
That is so common.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how common that is. People
Yeah.
see one, they don't talk about it right away.
Right.
It's always later that they talk about it. That's very, very common.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, I'll let you go. I want to thank you so very much for
You're
sharing your
welcome.
story.